Welcome to Cross-Search. I'm Jodie Papike. Today I wanted to chat about private equity firms coming into the financial services industry and how it's really reshaped the landscape significantly. So going back about 10 years, I would say when I would talk to financial advisors about broker dealers or RIAs, I really didn't even bring up how the firm was owned. And that was because most firms back in that time were privately held. Around 10 years ago is really the time that started shifting, where it became more and more common for private equity firms to get into the space, whether they were buying broker dealers or RIAs. And that's really changed the landscape significantly for advisors that are considering making a change to a broker dealer or RIA. The three main ways it's reshaping the landscape is there are way less independent, privately held firms in existence for advisors. And that is because a lot of independent broker dealers were formed in the 80s, 90s. And the owners of those broker dealers have gotten to an age where if they haven't put a plan in place for the next generation to take over, they're looking at how they're going to exit the business. So many of these firms that were always doing great, recruiting, having success, the owners eventually decided that they needed to cash out. And that's why a lot of them over the last several years have sold. That has been very difficult for advisors. And that leads me to my second point, is that there has been way more consolidation as a result of private equity firms coming into the marketplace. And that is because it used to be that an independently owned firm could have 100, 200, 500 advisors and be a standalone entity. But when private equity firms started getting involved, they really have a pattern of consolidating those back offices. And we've seen that time and time again. There are a lot of examples of this where a firm will be a standalone, they'll have a separate back office, a lot of, their individual services and value proposition. But over time, the ownership, that private equity firm will merge those services, merge that back office. And advisors have had a lot of change because of that. And to be honest with you, it's where we talk to a lot of advisors that are really candidly tired of all the change that's going on in the industry. And a lot of that comes from mergers and acquisitions and also consolidation. The good news is kind of highlighted in my third point to a trend that's happening because of all the private equity money in the industry. And that is that advisors have access to more transition money than ever before. It's always been, I should say, about the last 15 years, it's been that with some outlier firms, transition money was offered as a way to soften the burden of the transition. What's happened with way more firms owned by private equity now is that there's more money being offered and there are more firms offering it. I like to preface this point with saying that there are still way more firms that don't offer any transition money, maybe a little bit of transition money to help the advisor get through the transition. So keep in mind that really shouldn't be your main point in looking for a firm, because there are fantastic firms out there that may be a better fit for an advisor that don't offer a lot of transition money. And to be honest, this is a very complicated topic where there are a lot of nuances of forgivable loan packages that really need to be understood before an advisor jumps in to receiving that upfront bonus. But that being said, it is a result of more capital, more private equity money in our space and more ownership in that category that's given advisors the opportunity to semi-monetize their business without having to sell. So there's a lot of information on this topic and a lot of change happening in our industry. We track that change and track ownership and what's happening behind the scenes at firms all the time. If you have any questions on any of this, or if you ever want to explore looking at a new firm, give us a confidential call because we'd love to chat with you.